I didn't know if you were staying up here or not. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's see how that's worked. I believe that has worked because we got a few people there in the chats which were waiting for us to jump on in. And I think we thought we was in, but we might not have quite been in. And that's just typical. Whenever I have like a really good introduction, then, you know, life gets in the way. It does what it does.
It's all good.
I've got no complaints on my end. What about you, Kyle?
I'm good here, so should be good here.
All right. Well, look, you're not too tired of hearing my voice, are you? So we'll give another run through of that introduction.
Perfect.
But basically, we want to welcome everyone in. That's those of you guys who've been off for the last week. So I hope you all have been coping without your weekly dose of violence. It's certainly been too quiet on our end, so we thought we'll spoil that serenity and resurrect for you guys this fighter Q&A segment to bring back this fighter that has footnoted that jaw-dropping card UFC 315 about 3 weeks ago. And yes, you're seeing him already on the screens. He's currently moving between rooms right now. But it's Kyle Prepolic. You know, he's back for his second run in the organization. He's still hunting down that first win. But trust me when I tell you, the hunger is real. So I'm going to come back to you again, Mike. Kyle, how are you?
I'm great, my man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Doing good once again. And I do apologize about that. It seems to be, I don't know, some difficulties with the stream key, which was changed over but wasn't saved. So for those of you who know that troubleshoot issue, we'll know that's an annoying one. All right, cool. So look, for those of you guys who are new to this segment, we're going to be talking comebacks, mindset, and what it really takes to grind through the highs and lows of the fight game. So no sugarcoating things, you know, just real talk. And this fighter, Kyle, who's going to be talking us through what it's like and what's life being a fighter while he's in the thick of it. So I guess, Kyle, for those who don't know, and they should, as I mentioned earlier, but if they don't know, I'm just going to do a quick run through of the fact that you're a Canadian MMA fighter. You competed in UFC lightweight division. You're best known for your striking and your resilience. So your middle name, Killshot, is a right moniker for that. And with a professional record, you're walking in here with 18-9. You've previously been in UFC back in 2019, but you since dominated the local circuit. And we're seeing you back again after a 3-fight win streak, in which case you did step up against the Benoît Saint Denis. Last minute notice, of course, it was. But as I mentioned earlier on in the introduction, it was that UFC 315 card. So really, first and foremost, I do want to say to you, Kyle, welcome back.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. It's all right. But also, are you back? You know, usually the UFC, they only invite guys who rise up the division to become champions in the local circuit or step in on short notice, as you did, of course, to save fight cards. But what were the terms of that invite that they gave you back? Is it just one fight and see you later, see how you do? Or do you have a contract now?
I do have a contract. It was a 4-fight deal. So the first one is obviously with Benoît. So I have 3 more left on the contract.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's real cool.
Yeah. So
and
big blessing from them. So I appreciate it big time.
Yeah. Look, what way to do it as well. Home turf, big event. Did you know that Montreal staged the UFC's first show in Canada? Like it was, it's like homecoming.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I never knew I never knew that, but now I know. So yeah, that's pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'd say it was I think UFC 83 back in 2008. So it was GSP. He stepped in there and he stopped Matt Serra and regained the welterweight title.
Yeah, the beast. Yeah, I remember that.
That time. Do you have like a fond legacy fighter that you got this high affinity with, that you're a big fan of? Look, most fighters I sit down with, for example, they love the sport, but some don't actively kind of keep up with it, if that makes sense. You know, what they kind of do is they'll watch it, they'll train it, but they wouldn't actually be following it too much. You know, they're just like violent people. So I guess, what kind of guy are you? You know, are you a violent man or are you a UFC fan?
Honestly, probably both. Because like, if we talk about like the eras of UFC, I can talk and say like, you know, whatever fighters were on that list. I could be like, back in the day, it was like, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, Matt Hughes, Rich Franklin, way before Anderson Silva, and like the next era, the next era, the next era. So it's like I had, when I started really watching it, and even like the Pride days, it's like I had Crow Cop, the Nogueira brothers, I got Vonderlei, I got Rampage, even like Carlos Newton, like, even though he was UFC, but even when he was fighting in Pride as well, like an old school Overeem before he got all monstrous.
Brilliant, man. I love that. So I guess I think both is right. I mean, you're a violent fan. You're a violent fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Fan. We'll do that.
Yeah. Violent man, UFC fan. You're a violent fan. So I guess who was it that influenced you the most? In terms of picking up arms and stepping into the stage and onto the stage.
I would say probably the initial. If we go way back, it'd for sure be like the guys from like the Matt Hughes era and like the Crow Cop era. Like, I know it's different leagues, but it's just like, Crow Cop, I don't ever think he said no to any fight. Neither did Matt Hughes. And they both dominated in their own fashion and was just like, yeah, I'm going to fight anybody. And I'm like, I got to be like that. I got to be badass like them. And, and then have my own style and be like those guys, but with my own like style and grace, basically.
Yeah, I hear that. You kind of want to add your own spin on it.
Yeah,
and I think you have, right? You've 18 fights. You're pretty much a veteran, I guess, in the sport. You've been around for a minute. And in fact, something I left out the introduction, but I did kind of want to touch on is it's your age. You're 35 now. What are the effects, of course, of like stepping back into the UFC at an age that most fighters consider themselves to be kind of nearing the end of their prime?
I think due to not only like the pandemic, stopping a lot of athletes and fighters, other than like the training, and unless you were in UFC, because that was the only thing going on. But I think those 2 years I'm making it up, because I didn't really get to fight, so I got a little longer longevity, and from starting later, also from starting later, like I didn't start like as a young kid as like the new age guys. I started when I was basically like a young adult, like I was 18, just starting to train, and then I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do, like full time. I want to do this, even though I was still working. Like I still work right now, obviously, just because like you only fight, hopefully 3 times a year if you can, maybe 4 would be awesome. But as long as everything goes well, but you still got to work unless you're making like that, like Conor McGregor money.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, for real.
Oh yeah. Oh well, it's I guess you just got to pick those fights, haven't you? He's got that star power as well, and kind of look at some people. How do they come about in getting that? You got the Machado Garys, I guess. He's got a bit of star power. The Paddy Pinnets as well.
Yeah,
those kind of guys.
John Jones still. Yeah.
Right.
Like. Yeah. So it's just working your way up and marketing yourself in a way. Even like Pereira, right? He don't really say much. He just goes in, does his thing, and
he literally says like "sweet FA." The guy doesn't know how to speak properly. He has his little words. He just has an expression, and that's enough. Apparently, it's enough.
Yeah, he just goes in and does work. Like, that's basically it. He just shows up, stays stoic, and then does his job.
That's it. All right, I'm gonna have a little second to go over to the chats as well, because what I'm noticing is that a lot of people are in and saying hi and giving you a lot of love, man. And I think I would be doing this Q&A a disservice if I didn't call out the Canadian fan in the room. It's our own resident Canadian, Tay, over there. He's chiming in saying, "Look, let's go." Ash is saying, "Yes, T." And then these guys are just keen to see you on the channel.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Hell yeah. Much love.
It's good. I wish my eyes were a bit better to see it, so I'm just going to quickly try and zoom, if I can, in on this side bit here so I can see what's happening. There's a shortcut for it, I'm sure. There it is. Oh, man. That helps.
Hey.
Yeah, so I can see what the questions are now. But yes, a lot of people are just chiming on in. There are going to be some questions. Guys, if you got some questions you want to be dropping into the chat. I'll be asking Kyle real shortly, so feel free to write them, post them, and I'll go through them from top to bottom. I've got live chats activated, so I see them as they come on in. But welcome on in, Ashley Zay saying boom, and yeah, a lot of these guys. Canadian Bacon says, just give Sai a little bit to get into it, and he will begin asking Kyle he's talking to the fans there. He knows the drill. He knows the drill.
My man, he understands. He knows the role.
Exactly. He really does. He really does. So look, we touched a little bit on the on you as a fighter, you know, your style. We've also talked about those influences that got you into the sport in the first place. And of course, you know, what we could, you know, the fact that you're 35 and, you know, you kind of could consider yourself to still have it, you know. You have competed on those regional promotions, like BTC and Samurai MMA. So you've been winning titles along the way. You've been doing well. And how has the competition, I guess, faced up to that of the caliber outside of the UFC? You know, compared to those guys you faced now on 2 different stints within the UFC, is it like chalk and cheese? Is it a night and day? Are you noticing that it's big leaps, or is it just, you know, a few things you need to tweak?
I think it just varies on the opponent and like the day of the fight and who's mentally ready and who isn't mentally ready. Because like a lot of the time, like people get so hyped up and like the way they do the promotions, you're like, man, this guy's a beast. Then you go in there and then you're like, dang, I just crushed this guy in a minute, you know? And then it's like, oh, okay. So it's like, was my mindset and my game implementing that much better, or was my mentality that much stronger than his, or was something off? Was like, did he have a bad cut? Like there's so many factors, but I believe like it's not like the leagues are there to hold us to have our fights, and I believe it's more of like the matchmaking that makes, you know, those hard fights, or like, you know, if someone's really like a big prospect, someone who's like 10-0 or, you know, 12-3 or some of that, and then it's something like that, and then it's like, all right, you know, let's go fight this guy, let's see if he says yes. And then when you get to a certain point, like as myself being like a UFC veteran at the time, it was, I think I had like 6 fights fall through. You guys are like, all right, I'll fight this guy, and then you find out a week or so to the fight, you know, somebody drops out, and you're like, was he actually hurt or wasn't he? Like, if you were, why didn't you say anything sooner? Like, if it was that bad, you know, because like not only was their time wasted, the promoter's time, the other athletes or myself or the opponent, whoever it may be, and it's just like, man, that takes so much like time off everybody, you know, the sacrifice, the hard work. Like, I know we all appreciate the hard work, but it's to have that goal to have something. But I believe it's more of the matchmaking. Like I said, like if you got like, we'll say a guy like myself, I don't remember what the record was, but when I fought Michael Dufort before I got the first samurai belt, I think he was 10-1 or 11-1 or something like that. I don't remember what the record was. And that was my first fight out of the UFC to fight that guy. And it's like, you know, we got to fight these tough guys, these top elites of the country and whoever else. It didn't matter. We're like, we got to fight them. We fought him. We did our job. And then same thing, you know, fighting Shane Campbell out of catch weight because he doesn't fight 55 no more. I don't know if he still competes or not, but I know he was at the time. And, you know, it was pretty close. And then after that, I was like, nah, F this. I'm just going to start tearing it up, even though I thought I won, but I'm not the judge. You always think you do enough, right? But yeah. And then after that, I was like, all right, let's go. And then started tearing it up on the other scene. And then I'm like, all right, it's, you know, wherever we got to get, we just got to keep fighting and we'll get that call eventually. So yeah, here we are.
Hey, yeah, you were. And you did well after that, right? It was, what fight was that? Was that the Dufort? No, was that the Shayna Campbell fight?
That was right after I fought Dufort. So we fought,
Dufort, right?
Yeah, so we fought at a catch weight, and then we went to 3 rounds, and then I thought I won due to like the strikes landing and all that, and like pressing him back, and then
I mean, it would have been an impressive win streak, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he's got an impressive win streak too. But I was like, man, we got to beat this guy. Like, who cares about weight? And then I'm like, okay, obviously weight and all this matters because people fight different at
Mm-mm.
170. Like guys at 55 and then they fight at 170. It's a big difference. Or guys who fight at 45 and they go up to like 155. It's the weight classes are there for a reason, and that's
Yeah,
basically why,
yeah,
right? Unless you are like
it
a
is.
BJ Penn or Connor or Aldo or any of those guys, Cejudo, Mighty Mouse, like all those greats, right? Even like, yeah,
Yeah.
the list goes on.
It does, yeah. And look, this is why you're a violent fan. You know so much about the sport in depth to the grit and the detail. It was brilliant. And I guess the change of mentality, right, after the Shane Campbell fight, that led to your 3-fight win streak. What would you say that was? What do you think switched? Is it the frustration that you felt robbed and you thought, right, I'm not going to leave it down to the judges again? So therefore, you kind of went out, guns blazing, world round one finishes from there on forwards.
Yeah, it was basically like there's there's I think of it as there's nothing to lose, just give it your all. So all or nothing. Like you
Mm,
can only do this for so long, and like as I'm getting older, because I am 35, and like pandemic happened. I can't change the way life is, and like I said, I think it was a blessing and a curse, just because we all had to suffer because of it. But it also helped, I think, add more longevity, and I was able to grow and do all these things and be healthy, learn about myself more, and keep pushing through one fight at a time or one day at a time, and
yeah,
really bring it, right. So it
you
was just
did. You
more of
did.
just keep being violent and just do your thing. Don't change who you are. Just be first to be
Mm,
violent.
yeah. Yeah, and you certainly did. I actually heard you mention to one of the cage side pundits, and this was a few fights I think you had to go in on the local circuit. That your grappling is underrated. Is that true, or is it like a bit of a threat tactic? Because we don't really see much of your ground game when you step on in there. What's
See, I like striking a lot, so I guess my style would kind of be like almost a little bit like Sam Stout and like Chuck Liddell. Like if we got to go to the ground, I will. But like if I
mm,
can throw down and hit you and knock you out, why not? Like it's exciting for the fans, especially for those who just like to watch fights and don't really know about the ground game. Like if I want to go to the ground, I'll take you down. And
mm,
other than that, I'll try to defend the takedowns and go up. Um, yeah, what I found out, like, just a little like fun fact of how good like Benoit's grappling is. I didn't know like he was like a two-time or whatever grappling champion he was, and I think he did ACC and all these things. And I'm like, damn, I had no idea. I just knew he was really good at what he does, and you find out all these cool fun facts from everybody that you chit chat with, and I was like, man, if I was able to defend for 5 minutes off of him being in such a good position on 6 days' notice, because like being fight shape is so different than just being ready to make weight. The training's different, the intensity's different. So there's a lot of pros to that fight, even though like I said I lost. It is what it is, but there's a lot of things I can take from that fight to improve, because I even noticed when I look back and like even seen some of the highlights, I'm like, man, I would never do that, and here I am, and I did that. And I tell people and coach people not to do what I just did, and I'm like,
yeah,
man, what the heck, never reach around. And I did, and then sure enough I got caught. And like even when we were in the clinch and I went to go take him down, like
mm,
normally I would use that and then disengage and then go back in, like kind of like how Khabib would drive people against the cage and then
you know it.
let go to strike and then go back down, or even like how Mighty Mouse does it. He goes up, goes down, then picks you up, slams you,
Yeah,
and submits you. And it's just like, man, I could have done that, but I didn't. I think of it now, obviously, because it's past due to the fact. But
yeah,
yeah, it's just it is what it is, and you know, I was ready in my mind as well. Like I was ready in my mind. I was in good shape. I felt real good, but like I said, being in an actual fight camp is so different than just being ready to make weight.
yeah.
And like
I hear that.
if he was to strike more, it wouldn't have been well for him. But he did the right thing and implemented his game and his strengths, and he got me. So it is what it is.
Yeah, look, the whole technicalities of it, right? I mean, you coach fighting, it's the difference is when you step in there and it has to kind of convey from the gym and practice to real instinct and the moment, right?
Oh, 100%.
And that's always some part of the challenge and the difficulty. But no, great answer, and I love the depth and the color on that as well. I had to quickly scroll through some of the questions coming in from the guys here because I'm
Yeah, no
fearing we've
problem.
got so many. I'll never get through them if I don't start them soon.
Yeah, start them up.
But yeah, yeah, here we go. It's got to be straight from the Canadian bacon himself. This is Tay, and he has the question, which is, what was it like beginning your career at a time when the sport was still technically illegal in the province of Ontario?
Oh, that was
So
crazy. Because yeah,
tell us about that.
uh, honestly, it was. I think it's cool because it's something I could always look back on. Because back then we had to fight on the native reserves, and if it
Mm,
wasn't there, we had to, basically go to the states because there was no amateur MMA or any of that
yeah,
stuff. And then it was like, all right, we fight on the native reserves or we go to the states. And then even trying to like fight in the states now before like the UFC and all that, it was we had to get a visa. Where before it was like we're not making anything, man. Like you make it when you're like in Bellator, UFC, all these things, and all these other leagues. At least when it was back then. But
yeah.
now it has gone a lot better overall, but like you still need the visa in the states, and you know, yeah, back then the native reserve is amazing. Like when I look back, I'm like, man, all my friends and family got to watch. Like it wasn't too far because it was kind of local, but it was just so cool. What an experience!
Nice. Yeah, and I mean, when things change, you must have loved that because looking at your fighting record, you fight all over Canada. Really, you don't often leave Canada to fight in the states as of late. So I guess at a point when everything changed for you, you must have loved that.
Oh man, it was great. Like yeah, because we would try to fight in Canada because there's only so many promotions in Canada. But like the promotions that did thrive, they are still thriving right now and doing
Yeah,
really well. Whether they're the same name or a different name, it's still in those areas like Montreal or Quebec, I should say. And then we have a few leagues in Ontario. We have everything in BC or in like Alberta, and it's I think it's thriving even better. And the fact that all these leagues are going and fight UFC Fight Pass, and then people can watch and just it grows not only the community but I think for those who are like young and up and coming and want to strive for this, it gives them
yeah,
something to look forward to be like, man, I get to be on TV, I get to be on UFC Fight Pass, and then hey, you know what? I'm in UFC or I'm in a different big league, whatever it may be.
yeah, yeah. No, it's true. It's in so much for the next generations coming through, and I'm learning a lot, man. I mean, first of all, I found out that you are a man of violence. You're a big fan of the UFC, and now also you got a penchant for criminal activity. So,
Yeah, yeah.
anything else that we should that you should
Uh,
come to light with that make us all a bit more surprised about who Kyle Propolic is?
I'm just a man trying to do the thing, man. Just a
Trying to
guy
do
being a
my
dude.
thing. Piccolo here wants to know if you are Croatian. So I guess it's to do with the last name, Propolic. Is there origins to that?
Yeah, so my parents immigrated. So my dad is Croatian and my mom is Serbian. So I'm actually half of both. Yeah. Well, that's a fun fact. The two countries that were at war with each other at the time, and now here I am.
It's a real Romeo and Juliet story.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could
Yeah,
be. Just
exactly. You
yeah,
can't be with that person. Screw you, daddy. I love him.
yeah, and there you go.
I
And
can
vice
see it.
versa.
Oh wow. Okay. Let's have a look here then. So next question up is what would be your dream fight? That was Ashley Easton just chiming in with that. So I guess a bit later as well, I'm gonna certainly touch on about what's next for you. But before I do get into the technicality and how that breaks down, what would be the dream fight that you would have had anytime, any era? Let's go back to some of those fighters you was mentioning a little bit earlier and reading off the tongue. You're a violent fan. I know you thought about it.
And it always changes because like there's always so many like cool fights that are up and coming or like whoever's like at the top. Ah, I gotta think. That's a tough one. I'll go with more like what's relatively new. I guess like right now it'd be any of like I guess like right now who I'd like even though he's gonna retire because he's fighting Max Holloway, but Dustin Poirier, just because he's a beast and like what an honor it'd be to share the cage with one of the best fighters. ever. You know, a guy who's been doing it from WEC, smashing guys at 145, then destroying the 155 division and just being an absolute animal. Like
Yeah.
he's one of the guys. If we go back a little bit, I think fighting like BJ Penn would have been pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Um, whether it was before he fought GSP or after, BJ Penn was a beast. For him being a 155er in a crazy era where it was still stacked at 155 and 170 with just all these monsters, and he's just so good. It's just like guys like that, like even Max Holloway, like man,
Yeah.
any of these guys, like I would say probably top 15 and down. I already got number 13, so anything top 15 down would be sweet, right? Because they are
Nice.
considered the top elite, the one percenters of the
Yeah.
world. So that's badass. I think like fighting
That's
any of those
badass.
guys. Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool. And I'll get into a bit more of that when I talk about, what is next for you and a couple of things to touch on there too. But while we're in, actually, I think I might play on that a little bit as well when we go offline. Might have to look at creating a prime machine, not a time machine, but a prime machine. Who in their prime would you take and fight anyone else in their prime? To make the ultimate fight. Play matchmaker and let's find out who we can put up against each other. That'd be fun. I might just have fun with that on my own. I mean,
Yeah, that'd be
imagine
sweet.
getting chat up for that. But
That'd be sick.
while we're dreaming, Kian wants to know what place would be your dream fight. Where would it be, and would you come to the UK?
If the UFC wants to send me there, I'm down because I like anywhere like what I think a lot of us fighters is like we love to, even though the flights sometimes suck depending how long they are. Um, I think wherever a fighter wants to fight, like whether it's like you go to like Thailand, go to Japan, go to Australia, go to UK. I wherever the UFC want me to fight, I'm down to go. I think it'd
Oh,
just be such
brilliant.
a cool experience, and then something I could share stories with my kids, and then eventually with my grandkids. As long as I'm still healthy and still good, I hope so, and I know I will be because I do take care of myself a lot
Yeah,
better than I.
defend yourself at all times.
Yeah, always, always. So
No, I
yeah, I
love
think
that.
I think anywhere. I would love to go
Mm,
anywhere.
that's good. Um, and I guess I would love to see that too. To be fair, because a lot of your fight history, you have been in and around Canada. I don't see much of you and going across the pond. And we'll love to see you over here as well. I know Kian will be sure to see. Will be excited to see you over
Yeah,
here
that'd be
on the UK
awesome.
turf as well. So that'd be great. Can't
Hell
get
yeah.
over to London. We have it in good faith that the UFC, they listen to a lot of the ATF stuff all the time. Every time we mention a fight pick, somehow they end up doing it anyway. So
Like you're making it
maybe
easy
that
for
might put you on
them,
our turf.
making it easier for the matchmaking. I love it. Keep
Yeah,
doing it.
exactly. Look, we make people's life easy around here. That's what we do. That's what we
Beautiful.
do. All right. So we've got Making the Walk. And he's chimed in. He said you fought against Dufort, and it was about 5 rounds as well. How did you approach that fight differently to prepare for the fights versus? Sorry, how do you prepare for that fight differently from the fights that you fight for 3 rounds? If that makes sense.
So the difference between a 3-round fight and a 5-round fight is almost like you're doing a sprint to like a 5 or 10K race, right? So, like what I tell like up and comers who are doing like amateur fights and want to go pro, it's if you can. So your fights are only 3 3-minute rounds. I'm just going to use this as an example. So they're 3 3-minute rounds for like people who are doing kickboxing, boxing matches, or whatever. I'm like, if you
Mm.
can spar 9 rounds and still not be tired, you're ready to fight a 3-round fight. You got to do 9 3-minute rounds and still feel good and not be exhausted. Just because
Right.
of the adrenaline, your body's moving at 100 miles an hour, your mind's going 100 miles an hour.
Mm.
You got to be defensively sound. You got to be really reactive. You got to be, aware of everything going on. So from a 3 5-minute rounds is you're able to increase your pace and intensity for basically that whole time and just keep going and not be as exhausted as you would be in a 5-round fight. Whereas like a 5 round, let's say as an example, uh, I'll do 6 minute, 4 6 minute rounds of like hard situational, like pad work and grappling and wall work. So it'll be like 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. All right, 30-second break. All right, next round. So we got to keep up the intensity. And then it's like, all right, after that's done, let's do, a 5K run. And then let's walk a high incline for the next like 10 minutes as your cool down. And then it's like, then you program, you go to your strength conditioning coach, and then depending what level you're at, you got to build yourself up, because like if you don't, you'll just gas out and you'll get frustrated that you're not in better shape and all this other stuff, and then that's how injuries
It
happen.
starts to unravel from there.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just different intensities. So sprint to a fast paced jog.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And your fight against BSD was a 3-round fight, and you've done many of those. And you look good for like the first part of it. I mean, one of my concerns coming into that was this guy's got 3 fights, knockout in the first round. Is his cardio going to be good? He hasn't really got to experience it. But then also the cardio of BSD wasn't all that good. It's not historically been known to be that good anyway. So really was looking at punching power as a compatibility for you two in that one. A lot of the boys in the chat seem to think you did. They meant talking about how you did well in the second round, for example. You landed some really good shots against BSD.
Yeah.
You basically forced him to take you down.
Yeah, that was a fight error on my error. It was like I knew my range in boxing was superior. But like even when I heard in the corner, my corner's like, be patient. He's gonna try and take you down. Don't go in with flurries. And I should have, but what I should have done was, when I was throwing those shots, is add more feints, add more follow-ups, and I think I could have eventually pulled off what Poirier and like what Money Moicano done, or did, I should say, and really just wear and tear him, and then just pick apart the body if he didn't go down, and then just slowly take away everything that he has, because like his grappling and his positioning is very strong. I was very like surprised on that part, but on the striking, I was like, man, this guy's like knocking everybody out. Like, I know I got a decent chin, but I'm like, he only hit me in the head twice with elbows here, and then like I bruise easy. I bruise very easy, and I had nothing on my face. Only my ear in the side of my head was like, I had the cut on my ear and the bruise on the side of my head. My face didn't even look like I was in a fight until I turned my head this way and you saw my ear. That was it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, either he's got bad accuracy or he doesn't hit that hard and he's just tired. But like I said, his grappling and strength and his positioning, top tier for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, and he submitted me. So yeah.
Yeah. Run it back and stand only with him. You feel like you would get your go to decision.
If we run it back, like I mentioned this to my coach, like even after the fight, I'm like, I want to work my way back up, like one fight at a time, and then wherever he's at, eventually, once I've earned that spot, re-challenge him. I would like to re-challenge him, and then, avenge it.
Basically. Yeah, you really felt like.
Yeah, all I was gonna say was that I feel like with a full camp, because like I'm ready to strike and throw down with anybody any day. It's just when I'm not, like, full camp is different, because it's like I'm really emphasizing on the grappling and the wrestling especially, and the jiu-jitsu. Like I start in terrible positions, and then I force myself to work my way out of them. Whether it's a guy who fights 170 or 185, just to get used to moving around a big body. That way, when I go against guys who are my size, it's like, oh, this isn't that bad, So. So eventually, we'll see how it goes. One fight at a time.
Nice. Yeah. No, I love that, and I love that you got your goal set already. You felt the power. You've been in there. You've rolled with this guy. You kind of know that you are capable of beating him. You just gotta go back up and earn that spot. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
and gives us a
lot
lot
like Batman. Good preparation.
Yeah, right. That's it. No, that's it. Something tells me you're a big DC fan. Killshot's in DC, right? Or is Killshot in Marvel?
I'm more into, I'm not gonna lie, anime. Like I like Dragon Ball
There you are.
Z, One Piece. Naruto was pretty good. What
One
else was
Piece
there?
season 2 has to be coming soon, man.
I think it's just a
I
never-ending season.
yeah.
It's just a never-ending season. But like Solo Leveling, Jujutsu Kaisen, like man, I'm hooked on all of them. Like I'm wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt right now. Yeah,
Okay, no,
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
that's big. I tell you what, we'd have to do one of these things in the future. We love games over here at ATF, and I don't think we'd have time to do one here on the Q&A. But usually, what we'll do is we'll have a fighter who comes on. We do like the Q&A. We engage the audience, but then we have a game and we get to play some fun. But we can certainly think of doing a particular anime game specifically just for you, Kyle.
Oh shit! All right, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. We'll whip one up and we'll schedule some time in for sure.
Sounds good.
Um,
Hell yeah.
I'm going to wrap up a couple of these questions, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions to round it off as well. But
Yeah.
we had a really good one here. I think I've lost it here somewhere, but it was something along the lines of, it's your second stint in the UFC. That's it here from Aaron McNally. How does it feel to be back? And how do you feel you're different this time round compared to your first time round?
Oh man. So it's funny because first call to the UFC was 6 days notice at 170 to fight Nordine Taleb, and I was just like, man, hard work pays off, and we're finally here at 29 years of age, and I was like, man, this is awesome. And like I was just entering my prime then, where I was like, if I was to fight my old self, man, my old self would be like, what did I get myself into? That's just how I feel and how I believe. Like even performing wise, I feel now, even getting this call back here, like if it was 2019 version Kyle fighting Benoit, I think it probably would have been done in the first round. Like I
Yeah.
like just not knowing how to be, patient or defending properly or even listening, because I was able to hear my coaches through that whole crowd, and I was able to dial in and just listen to all the good things that they were saying, and really be observant and
Mm.
hear everything going on, and being aware and to what to look out for, and turn myself to the cage type of deal.
Yeah.
The difference would be like the intensity and like preparations for sure.
Yeah. Kind of attacking this like it is, the ultimate stage, and you don't want to, I guess, you got a second chance at it now this time around, right? I think you mentioned a few interviews that it's almost like you got a lottery ticket. It's that 1 in a million shot that you find. So I guess you kind of you hold on to it. You value that a lot more than the first time around. You really got to make it happen this time, huh?
Yeah, it's like it's all or nothing. Like, yeah, the lottery shot, and it's like how many people have been able to get called back to the UFC twice. I'm very fortunate, and I think they saw something and something valuable in me to even have me come back, because they could have picked anybody,
Yeah,
but they picked me. So
yeah,
now I think even fighting Benoit on short notice, showing the resilience, the ground defense, aside from like getting finished in the second round, because I've recognized that error, and I'm just like, oh Kyle, you idiot. But even from the first round, going against such a high level tactician of a grappler and not getting submitted or totally like dominated, like being cut up or banged up, avoiding a lot of damage. Like he was in the first round able to throw some shots, but like I said, like it was all more to my ear
mm,
and like side of the head. But I was just like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. It's a fight. We got to keep going. Doesn't matter. Because
yeah,
even one time I heard the ref going, watch the back of the head. I'm like, man, I'm moving. It happens. It is what it is. Like, whatever. Got to keep going. Got to keep moving forward, like Rocky says.
yeah, yeah. What would you rather? 100 duck-sized John Jones or one John Jones-sized duck? What would you
Oh,
rather fight?
with John Jones sized duck.
There's a question in there from Breezy. He was curious to know because he's tired of the gorilla versus man conversation. He feels like it's time for duck comparison size human being conversation. And look, we've got it here live on the channel. So you'd rather one John Jones sized duck?
Yeah, as I feel like ducks aren't like, I know sometimes they can be nasty, but it's not like the Canadian goose. You know what I mean? Those things are nasty. If it was one of them, ooh,
Yeah.
that's risky. A duck is like, yo, come up and pet me, let's hang out. Like
Oh, I hear what you're saying, but bear in mind, ducks over here in the UK are like Canadian gooses.
Oh, for
They're
real?
violent. They're violent. Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
Especially if they haven't had bread in a long time and you got some crumbs in your pocket, then they're
see, I
nipping
didn't
at your
know that.
ankles.
Well, that's a different perspective. Now I know. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. You know why they called it the ugly duckling?
They make it ugly, don't they?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
damn. It's like,
They
dang,
just
they get
making
ugly with
everything
it.
ugly.
Okay. Okay.
Had nothing to do with that, the aesthetics of the face. That was just a very ugly duckling. Um,
Damn. Yeah,
now I
I'll
wanted
still take
to.
the one duck. One
Yeah,
duck
okay.
size Stone Jones.
All that silliness, I guess. But just to quickly wrap up on this really good question, and I think a few people just wanted to know. So in light of Aaron's question about who you think is the next prospect really to be coming out of um, uh, MMA Canada, also dovetailing in with Breezy's question here, which was, as someone who started your pro MMA journey in 2008, particularly in Canada, what was the biggest difference you've noticed in the development of MMA, and what do you think is next for Canadian MMA? And then also tell us about what prospects you want to keep an eye on.
Okay, so I'll go for the prospects first. I will obviously say my teammates. One is signed to Ryzen, Tony Laramie. Um, he's not even in his prime, and he's in one of the biggest leagues in the world.
Mm.
I believe he will become one of the greatest 125ers in the world. My other teammate is actually Tony's brother, TJ Laramie. I know he is forced to be reckoned with at 145. I think his plans are to eventually, go down, but he is a phenomenal striker and phenomenal like grappler. He reminds me in a way of like Rory McDonald of being such a complete athlete
Wow.
and mixed martial artist. That's the Laramie brothers to me. Like they're both so excellent at everything, and that's where I believe the evolution of Canadian mixed martial arts and mixed martial arts all around the world is where it's not so much of we're only going to have so many Pereiras in the world or Khabibs. I think everyone's going to be starting to be more like Islam or Volkanovski,
Mm.
and like we only have one John Jones, but even him, he is so complete. We're going to only have so many of those, and I believe people are going to be more well rounded. So I at a certain point it'll get to where everyone is so good, all these fights may go to decision, or it's going to be such a grind that these fights may either be super close or depending on the skill level, someone is just going to get dominated and destroyed. So,
Wow.
and the other question was, or did I get both?
You kind of got both there. Yeah, I was just going to say, because you talked about the evolution of of MMA in Canada,
Okay,
right,
okay,
and
yeah,
where it's
yeah, yeah.
going, and it's quite exciting to see that there's more different problems stepping into the picture, because we've seen problems in MMA as of late, and that's existed in the world in the likes of the Dagestani style wrestlers, but you mentioned that there's new problems, new things that we're going to have to start, tougher things to start chewing on the horizon. That excites me, and it's coming out of Canada, huh?
For my teammates, 100%. Like there's I'm trying to think. I know I have some homies in the states that are doing real well right now. Like he's actually I trained with him before at Michigan Top Team with like Darren Cruikshank and all those guys.
Yeah.
Kenny Cross. I know he's on a nice little win tear. He was on the Contender Series before, and then since then he's still been on a little tear. I know he's up and coming. Um, yeah, I believe actually a prime example I'll say right now off of his last performance of like the evolution of the sport. Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. That's the evolution is Paddy Pimblett. And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I like Paddy Pimblett and I don't at the same time, if that makes sense. Like I think he's a gangster. I think he's or a scouser. I think he's an awesome fighter. And that I don't know, there's just he's on and off sometimes. And I'm just like, did he say that? And I'm like, that's kind of weird, but whatever, it's him, right? So but his last fight, I was super, super impressed. I did not think it would be like that.
Mm.
I thought it was going to be like a 3 round, grueling, nasty fight. But he showed pure dominance, he showed pure class, and he showed the evolution.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. He did. He did. I remember speaking to him before that fight, and then also, um, you know, seeing him during that fight, and he's singly one of he's one of the fighters who has, in my opinion, evolved the most in his last three fights. Every time he stepped up there, I thought, okay, this is going to be a tough test for Paddy, but he's trained accordingly for every fight he's got,
Yeah.
and he's performed. I think despite the levels he's risen to, his toughest challenge that I've seen him go through was that Jared Gordon fight, and that was ages ago. But that was because
3-4 years ago or something.
It was, but that was the most I've ever seen him tested. But that was because his preparation was up to that standard. But he's evolved so much. So since then, he's always come in better than the other fighters on the other side of him ever since. And I've not really seen him tested to the extent that he struggled in that fight going back a bit. Like, so he's evolved. He's got so much better since. And I thought he'll struggle against Bobby Green, King Green, and he stood in there and completely surprised me. And then against Chandler, I thought it was his toughest test, and he went in there and completely surprised the world. And I was like, wow, it's about the preparation he puts behind it, and he certainly backs himself so much, and it was brilliant. Yeah, you're right. Great evolution of a fighter.
Yeah.
A big respect to the preparation plan that he had going into it, because he had the right answer for the right fighter that time and the last time and the time before that. The only time he really struggled with it was, yeah,
every single time. Yep.
That's it. Okay, cool. And I think one more question here, and it's our boys, Bushi. Thanks for chiming on in. Similar question to the evolution of the sport, but he just kind of wanted to touch on or find out a bit more about how you've evolved with it accordingly. And you mentioned about this time being around, you're taking that preparation far more seriously for each fight that you're taking. But I guess what he's trying to figure out is he going to see anything new from you? Is he going to see a bit more of your grappling in your ground game, or?
I could see, the thing is, I could say it, and then during the fight I could be like, like, I'm just gonna knock him out. But no, like, if you see certain fights, it's like, we'll always go and strike, and then out of nowhere it's like, oh, double leg takedown, oh, single leg, oh, he took his back. And it's just heat of the moment. Like, I try to recognize it and use a lot of like fight IQ, knowing when to do these things. It's like split second decisions. If I hurt somebody on the feet and then, I see that they're going to go for the takedown, it's like, okay, well, actually, I'll take you down first, and then we're going to work off this.
We're going from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it varies on the situation and how to make split second calculations just to do it. Other than that, if, someone gets hurt, it's like, all right, let's take the right position before we, jump the gun and try and go for a submission and end up on the bottom. Because you always want to be on top, especially in MMA. If you're on top, you can hit and submit somebody. If you're on bottom, yeah, you can hit. But if I go to hit and the guy's above, he's just going to like reach for the star and just down on me. And it's like, well, I just wasted energy and got smashed if I'm still conscious.
Unless you're Kevin Holland, you're not going to knock that guy out.
Yeah, and he's the type of guy who's it works for him. If you try to emulate that, it's just like, oh man, he did it. I thought I could too. And then
I know, right?
He's laughing, talking shit to you.
Like, wow, yeah, probably not, bro. he's got the reach. He's got a wingspan as well. The way he swung that from the back was crazy.
Boom.
Yeah,
like a beast.
Honestly,
yeah, I don't got reach like that.
All right, man. But look, you might not have reach like that, but from what I've been hearing today, you are certainly reaching for the stars and hoping to land far beyond the moon. Like, you got an ambition, you've got a drive, and you've got your goals already set for this second stint at the UFC to be far more impactful than the first. And I mentioned it in the very introduction, you haven't got your first win yet in the UFC, but the hunger, and if you haven't seen it already, it's there. It's absolutely real. And I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm excited to see how you're going to be going out there and claiming the fighting out those next 4 fights on your contract and getting some more contracts on with the UFC as well.
Yeah,
especially look, this is it, 35 now. I think just to round up with one final question, and it is a bit about like what's next for you. you fought in both the welterweight division and the lightweight division. In fact, when you first came over to UFC, your stint, that first stint, you was in the welterweight class, wasn't it? It was a debut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was same thing, like 6 days notice, whatever. And it was like
yeah,
they're like, "Can you make 170?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could probably walk in right now and make it." I was only a few pounds off anyway, so I'm like, "All right, sweet, let's
yeah,
go."
yeah. So, what are your goals, I guess, here in the UFC now at this stage? Is it staying at lightweight? Would you consider going up? Probably not, right? How do you
No,
plan on positioning yourself in the division?
if I was maybe like 6 foot or 6'1", it would probably be a little more ideal. But I'm only like 5'9" or 5'10", whatever they measured me at,
Mm,
and if I had like McGregor or Volkanovski or John Jones type of reach, then it would work. But the height is a big thing in the size. Like
yeah,
from 55 to 170, it's like, yeah, it's a 15-pound difference at weigh-ins, but it's like, when I rehydrate from 155, I get
yeah,
to about 174, 175. When these
mm,
guys at 170 rehydrate, they get to like 190, sometimes like 200. Like it's crazy,
right,
crazy. And that's a
right,
lot of weight, especially if they're laying on you and it's like, oh bro, this is crazy. I'm just getting exhausted trying to get up from you because you're so heavy.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
the advantages of, being the bigger, taller guy, or the heavier guy, I should say.
Mm. Yeah, no, I get that. Weight buddies, I guess, is what you tend to call them in the division, isn't it? But they make it possible. It's capable, and I guess these are the advantages of that upper weight class. You mentioned
Yeah.
before, I guess, about your fiance and your beagle Mac, right?
Yeah, Mac Attack.
Mac Tag. These guys are key parts in your life. So you take them, they carry you in and through all the fights, and they've perhaps helped you through the highs and lows of the sport, right? Throughout the
Yeah.
MMA career. Are they very, in terms of where you're going next? I guess they're very supportive of your next opponent and what's coming next for you in the career as well.
Yeah, they just know, like, okay, you got this opponent going on. All right, I trust in you and your process and how hard you work. Like,
Yeah,
especially my wife, she's very, very big supporter. Like, I wouldn't probably be able to do what I do if it wasn't also for her. She helps me out big time. And we have our first child together, so that's a big help and motivation as well. And
yeah,
then Mac is my dog is excellent with my kid. Like, for being a little old man, he's so like good with my son Eli. So it's pretty cool. So like it's like, I even when I go to the gym, when it's like fight camp time, it's like, all right, we got to push ourselves to go harder. We're
yeah.
gonna really make ourselves proud. We're gonna make our family proud. We're gonna help people who are watching. Give them hope, and just to see, like, hey, like, you didn't get your shot yet, but you will if you push just a
Mm,
little more, right? Like, it's always that one push when you think or feel like of giving up, you're like, man, should I keep doing it? And then you just push again, then all of a sudden everything falls through, and like the
yeah.
law of attraction in the universe answers, like, and God answers your prayers. And it's just like,
Mm,
I'm glad I still stuck with it. And I think I'm a prime example of that as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's true, man. Look where you are. I'm really confident the next few fights for you are going to be a different narrative, and I'm excited to see you get that. I'll be celebrating with you when you get that first win
Thank
in the
you.
UFC, man. For sure,
Hell
for
yeah, let's
sure.
go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, man, we had a great time here. The questions been coming in through thick and fast, and I want to thank everyone in the chats who has chimed in, who has had their questions read out. And to like, subscribe, and follow. I want to give you the floor for a second card as well, just to let us know a bit more about what you got going on in your life, or any shout outs you might have too. But ultimately, if you guys haven't done so already, Kyle Prepolic, follow him on his channels. Stay tuned to his journey. He's doing some really exciting things here. He's back in the UFC, and he intends to stay as well. We've just learned that he's got a 4-fight contract. He's determined to be fighting on out, and so we're going to see a different narrative from here on forwards. But over to you, Kyle. The floor is yours for a good 30 seconds. Any shout outs?
Shout outs, obviously, to my friends, family, sponsors, my teammates, all that. Shout out to you for having me on your channel. Everyone who's watching and leaving comments, questions, all that. Much love, and couldn't do this without you guys and ladies. And thank you so much for being a part of this with me.
Yeah. We call them ladies and savages.
Ladies and savages. All right, ladies and savages. My bad.
Absolutely. No, thanks so much, man. That's great. And look, keep doing what you're doing, keep rocking in, and we'll keep a close eye as well. And as I mentioned, though, we'll have to spin up another time to sit down and do a game with you about anime, and we'll see how we'll put your knowledge to the test and find out, how much of a kill shot you actually are in the league.
Yeah, well, that's deep. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, man. Look, we'll take care. Thanks everyone as well for chiming in. But that's all for now. We'll catch you next time. This weekend we will be back again with a watch along. We're doing it every single week. So like, subscribe, follow, and make sure you don't miss out on any of the content over here at Against the Fence. Thanks again, Kyle. Take care, man. I'm just gonna say bye to everyone, and I'll catch you in the Zoom just after.
Sweet.
All right, bye, go.